넘어서야 할 것들. 망설임, 무례함, 불의, 편견, 타협, 차별, 부정, 그리고 내 자신. 태권도로 나는 나를 이겨낼 것이다. 나를 넘어서는 위대한 도전. 태권도.
Hello, I'm Mark Broom. Welcome to our coverage of President Yoon Song-yeol's speech and press conference marking his 100th day in office. President Yoon is due to start any minute now, and as soon as we see him approach the lectern, we'll cross over to the new presidential compound in Seoul's Yongsan district. Prior to this press conference, the president is expected to give a roughly 15-minute-long speech where he'll share his thoughts on state affairs. After that, he will be taking questions from both Korean and international reporters for just over half an hour. Officials from the top office say no subject is off the table. Some of the topics we could hear about, some of the questions asked of the president could be on the administration's economic policies, South Korea's overheated estate market. But it appears that we're about to start, so let's cross over to the top office for our live coverage with simultaneous translation for our international viewers in English.
이어서 국민의 질문에 답변하는 시간을 갖겠습니다.
We will have a Q&A session.
지금 대통령께서
Now
입장하십니다.
the president is entering the venue.
안녕하세요.
Good morning.
안녕하세요.
Good morning.
그럼 먼저 윤석열
Then
대통령께서
without further ado, we
국민들께
will
취임
hear
이후
from
지난
Mr.
100일간의
President on
소회와
his feelings on the
성과를
past
직접
100
설명하겠습니다.
days as president.
여러분 반갑습니다.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
도어스태핑으로 뵙다가
I met
이렇게
you
마주 앉게 됐습니다.
every morning through the
용산으로
doorstepping sessions,
대통령실로
and today
옮기고
I stand before you
새로운
after
환경에
moving to
적응하느라
Yongsan, and I was
기자
trying to
여러분들도
adjust
고생
to this new environment, and you also adjusted to this new environment. Thank you for doing so, and we will provide more support so that you have no inconveniences in covering your stories. And after the holiday season, I spent my time to look back on the past 1 year, and now I want to highlight that the beginning, direction, and objective of my government lies in the public. Until now, the public has given me great support as well as sharp criticism. I will make sure that I look after the public so that they have no concerns or worries. Recently, we have seen the heavy downpour, which led to great pain as well as damages. And I will also exert efforts to help them to return to daily life. And in this disaster crisis, I will make sure that I take care of the low-income class as well as socially marginalized, and this will be entailed in my housing policies as well. I believe that public safety is of the government's duty, and until the people are safe, I will make sure that the government looks after the public safety. After the inauguration of my government, we have had a very busy days. We had great uncertainties on a global level as well. And amid these uncertainties, I exerted my full efforts to revive the livelihoods of the people of South Korea. And I also sought to look after the future income sources of our country as well. First of all,
잘못된 경제
including
정책을
the income-led
폐기했습니다.
growth. I believe that these wrong income-led growth economic policies will be discarded. It should be based on the market. It should be based on the public. And I will normalize these economic
글로벌
policies.
스탠다드에
And the
부합하게
global standard will be met
상식을
with our
복원하는
economic policies.
민간의
And this is
자유를
all about
최대한
restoring the
보장하면서
common sense of
민간
these
스스로
policies. And I will make
혁신을
sure
추구할 수
that the
있도록
public's
뒷받침해
the
왔습니다.
private sector's freedom will be secured, and this will be supported by innovation. I will also make sure that this is funded and supported by regulatory innovation, so that there could be more private sector investment as well as growth. And I will also make sure that these companies can exert their full capabilities and capacities going forward. I believe that this is the role of the government. And as I have reiterated multiple times, I believe that the role of the government is to make sure that the private sector can excel and also eradicate any of the obstacles in this process. As of late last month, we have carried out 1,400 deregulations, and 140 of them we have completed the improvement of these deregulation policies, and 73 of them are also being carried out by the respective ministries. And I have been convening related meetings, and I will continue to eradicate these unnecessary regulations. And I will make sure that we continue to carry out the private investment, and we will also renovate and overhaul the corporate tax system. I will make sure that we provide incentives for employment and hiring as well. Going forward, we will witness many changes in our industry, and we will also we should be leading these industries through an innovative industries as well. And we will also invest in the space and chips industry as well as bio industry going forward. And I believe that the semiconductor industry is the core of the future industry. And I will make sure that we continue to support the nation's chip industry, including talents and parts and components as well. And we will also expand the number of people to be enrolled at related schools and universities. And I will make sure that we nurture 150,000 talents in this area. And with our homegrown technology, we were able to launch the Nuriho launcher, and based on this, we will also expand our foundation to become a strong country in terms of space. We have become the 7th largest space power, and we have declared our space economy visions. And we also have research in Daejeon and the launch facilities in Jeonnam, and also in Gyeongnam as well. And based on these three axes, we will be building a space and aviation administration, modeling after the NASA. And we will nurture bio-health industry, and we will make sure that we invest 13 trillion won by 2026. And we will also establish a 50 million Korean won vaccine fund as well. The future industry, in order to lead the future biohealth industry, we will also decrease the time of evaluation period for these new technologies, and we will make sure that we provide more incentives and support for the corporate sector. We also moved beyond and discarded our nuclear-free policies, and we were able to resume the construction of the Shinhanul nuclear plants number 3 and 4. And we are currently undergoing our environmental assessment evaluation, and we will make sure that we resume this construction as soon as possible. And we will be continuing to see thousands of more orders in the nuclear power generation industry. We will provide more support in this technology building area as well. Today, I have also once again announced the discarding of the nuclear-free policies, which were also reiterated at the NATO summit as well. And responding to this, we see that in the global arena, we are seeing increased movements in the number of orders of Korea's nuclear power generation construction from overseas, and I will be leading at the forefront of such nuclear generation, nuclear power plant sales. And the issue of labor management will be also responded with law and principle, including the Daewoo corporate issue as well as the cargo labor issues. We will make sure that we do not embrace any illegality, and we will only allow a legal labor, and we will secure and guarantee communications as well as freedom for these laborers, and I believe that this principle will be upheld going forward. And based on law and principle, we will be moving towards providing a more advanced level quality of labor conditions going forward. Right now, we are facing difficulties in terms of economically, and the government should also not waste the public tax money. And we will continue to reduce spending in the public sector and adjust our national spending. And these spending that are saved, the expenditures that are saved, will be going to supporting the low-income class as well as socially marginalized people. This is the basic stance of our government. I will be highlighting this multiple times going forward, and I have been highlighting this in the past as well. And in order to really overcome this fiscal issue, I believe that the public sector should stand at the forefront and really save our spending, and starting from next week, we will be saving spending in the public sector, and we will be also adjusting our expenditures as well. The public sector will be overhauled and revamped. We will make sure that we eradicate any of the areas that are not necessary, and we will integrate the areas that are duplicative, and we will provide more productivity as well as efficiency in terms of the public sector. And we will be reducing over 30% of our government committees, which will be saving a lot of our public's tax money. And when we are faced with national economic difficulties, the government has been focused on supporting the public's livelihoods. And also, this includes the decrease of the fuel tax. And in order to really help the elderly people, we have been providing a 1 trillion Korean won of the support fund and a very large amount of the energy voucher fund as well. And as for the small business owners, we have been having the contingency budget, and we have been providing 25 trillion Korean won of support for these people. And as for the small business owners who are going through difficulties due to the heavy rain as well as the COVID-19, we will make sure that they are faced with no burden by alleviating their terms and conditions for loans. And I am taking care of the livelihoods of the public on a daily basis through our meeting, but I will make sure that this is something that's highlighted going forward. And moreover, I will make sure that I stabilize the housing market, and in order to make sure that there are no fears and no concerns among the public, I will make sure that I intensify providing the public housing for the people. And I have also put a cap on the amount of houses, and we will also provide some regulations and also crack down on these houses so that there are no frauds in terms of jeonse as well as other types of housing. And moreover, when you are purchasing your house for the first time, we will be alleviating the LTV ratio to 80%, and we will also normalize we have also normalized the
외교
regulations.
안보에
And in
있어서도
terms of diplomacy
자유와
and foreign
인권
policies,
없이라는
we have
보편적
been
가치와 규범을
based
기반으로
on the universal rights of human rights,
평화와 번영에
universal values that is of
기여하고자
human rights,
책임
and
있는
also liberal
노력을
democracy. And we have been exerting our full efforts
보편적
to
가치와
play a
규범을
responsible
기반으로
role in the international
약화된
community.
한미
Based
동맹을
on
다시
such universal
강화하고
values,
정상화했습니다.
I have been
악화된 한일
bolstering
관계
the
역시
ROK-US
정상화를
alliance, and
신속하게
also I will
추진하고
be
있습니다.
improving
취임
the
초
ROK-Japan
한미
ties
정상회담을
as well.
통해
And I have
한미
held the
동맹을
ROK-US
재건하고
summit,
한미
and I
연합
aim
방위 태세를
at
분보히
enhancing
해서
and improving
대해
the ties between the two
강화된
allies, and
확장
also
억제
intensify and
체제를
bolster our
구축했습니다.
joint drills. And this has helped us
안보
to
동맹을
stronger
넘어
our deterrence
경제,
against North
기술 분야
Korea.
등
Going beyond
경제
security
안보 협력을
and
강화해
security
글로벌
issues,
공급망과
we will make sure
외환
that we
시장을
provide stability in the currency
영내 개방적,
market as well as
경제
the
질서 구축에
supply chain globally.
주도적 역할을 하기 위해
And in order to play a
인도
leading
태평양
role
경제
in the
프레임워크에
region, I have
참여했습니다.
also announced
창립
the joining of
역사상
the
최초로
Indo-Pacific
나토
Economic
정상회의에
Framework,
참석해서
and
정상
I
외교를
also took part
펼쳤고
in the NATO summit.
원전, 반도체,
And through
공급망
these
분야의
meetings,
실질 협력을
I have been
강화하고
intensifying
수출 성과를
actual and practical
이뤄냈습니다.
cooperation in the fields of nuclear power,
특히 나토
generators, as well
정상회담을
as
기회로
semiconductors. And
폴란드의
taking the
K2 전차,
NATO summit
K9
as
자주포,
the
FA
opportunity, I have
경공격기를
signed
수출해
the
사상
defense
최대
deals
규모의
with
무기
Poland,
수출을
and this has been a
달성했습니다.
record high amount as well,
호주와
including the
양국
sales of
국방장관 회담을
K2.
통해
And
K9
with the
자주포의
defense
현지 생산을
talks
결정했으며
with ROK
장갑차
and
수출도
Australia,
추진이
we
시작됐습니다.
have been also
우리
signing
기술로
numerous
제작한
deals of
한국형 초음속
exporting
전투기
our defense
KF-21이
products. And the
최초로 시험 비행에
KF-21 have
성공했는데
completed the
전투기
private
생산이 본격화되면
flight,
약
the
24조
pilot flight that is,
생산
and
유발
we
효과가
believe that this will
기대됩니다.
have great effect
미국,
in terms
러시아,
of
프랑스에 이어
economically. And after
세계
Russia,
4대
US, and
방산
France, we have
수출국
become we will become the
방산
fourth
산업을 전략
strongest
산업화하고
power in terms of
방산
defense
강국으로
exports. And
도약시키겠습니다.
I will make sure that Korea is
역대
upgraded to this
최악의
level.
일본과의 관계 역시
And
빠르게
amid the
회복하고
deteriorating ties between the
발전시켜나가고
ROK and
있습니다.
Japan, I am exerting efforts
취임 전
to
인수위 때부터
improve
한일
the
정책
bilateral
협의단을
ties. And after
일본에
the
보냈고
inauguration,
협의단이
I have
기시다
sent
총리
my
하야시 외무장을
special
비롯한
envoy team to Japan,
전현직 총리와
and they met with
정관계
the
유력
Japanese Prime
인사들을
Minister
만나
Kishida as well as
관계
other
정상화에
leading
물꼬를 탔습니다.
political officers. And this
김포
has
하나라
been
항공 노선을
providing
제기했고
some
나토
groundwork for
정상회의에서
continued
기시다
dialogue between the
총리와
two
만나
countries.
환담을
We
하고
have also
한일
resumed the flight
정상회의도
between
열었으며
Haneda and
미래
Gimpo
지향적인
airports,
한일
and
관계의
we
토대를
also will be
만들었습니다.
providing the
앞으로도
groundworks for a
김대중
continued
우부치 선언을
cooperation between the two
계승하여
countries.
빠르게
I will be
한일
looking
관계를
after
복원시켜
these
나가겠습니다.
Korea-Japan relations
제가
based on
늘
the Kim Dae-jung and
강조했던
Obuchi
보편적
Declaration.
가치와
And in
규범을
terms of
원칙에 두고
these political and historical issues, I will be resolving them in a future-oriented manner going
8.15
forward.
광복절
And
경축사에서
during the Liberation
북한이
Day
핵개발을 중단할
announcement remarks, I said
정치,
that
경제,
if and when
군사
North Korea
지원을
ceases
포함한
its nuclear
포괄적인
development,
담대한
we
구상을
will be providing
제안하였습니다.
great support in terms of
미국 북미 관계 정상화를
economically, and
위한
this has been
외교적
included in
지원,
my audacious plan.
재래식 무기
And
체계의
this includes
군축 논의,
a discussion
식량,
of the
농업기술,
defense
의료,
and also
인프라
providing
지원과
infrastructure in terms of
금융 및
farming
국제 투자
and food as
지원을
well as
포함한
medical
포괄적
supplies.
부상을
And
밝힌 바 있습니다.
I have been announcing this
우리
in
정부는
my latest
국민의
Liberation
생명과
Day
재산을
speech.
지키기 위해
And I will make sure
한치의
that
빈틈없는
the government
안보 태세를
looks after
지켜나갈
the assets
우리의
and the
주권
safety
사항에
of our
대해서는
people. And
더
as
이상
for
타협의 대상이
our
아니라는 점을
sovereignty issue,
분명하게
I want to make
했습니다.
clear that this
우리
is not an
정부에서는
issue of compromise.
서해 공무원
And
피살
in
사건,
my government,
북한
we
어민 강제
believe that
북송 사건에 대해
in terms
그
of
진상을
the latest
규명하고
issues that regarding the
희생자들의
latest shooting in
명예회복등을
the
비롯한
West Sea as well
조치에
as
최선을
the
다하고
refugee
있습니다.
issues with North
앞으로도
Korea, I
정부는
will make making sure that I resolve these issues based on universal values, including human rights and rule of law. And these values will be upheld in many of our diplomacy and foreign affairs. And I believe that these universal values are also embedded inside our state affairs. And in the past, the Blue House Presidential Office of Public Affairs has been reigning over the public and the law as well. I believe that this office should be eradicated, and I have been eradicating this office, and I have been eradicating this control tower, and I have been providing ways to normalize these offices' duty through diplomatic control, and also based on democracy, and I will be making sure that this is subject to the rule of law as well. All of the personal verification issues, rules that this presidential office has been taken, this will be carried out by the Justice Department, and the police issue is also going to be handed over to the administrative ministry, and I will make sure that this is continued going forward. And I believe that these sum up the state affairs during the past 100 days, and my government and myself will make sure that we highlight the importance of keeping people's livelihoods. We will be securing the growth engine and the future industries of our country. I will exert our full efforts to this end. I believe that the public is the utmost when it comes to state affairs. The beginning and end of state affairs are people. I will be listening to the public, and I will be also upholding the values of the public. And I myself will also make sure that I serve the public. And during the last debate session with the press corps, I have mentioned that journalists play a very crucial role, and I also pledged earlier that I will communicate with you many times, and I also pledged that I will take questions from the press. I believe that communication with the press corps is indeed communication with the public, and in this process I will be listening to sharp criticism from the public. And today, which marks the press conference marking the 100 days, I believe that today is not the end, rather a new beginning. Thank you very much for your attention.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. We will open the floor for questions. Here we have about 120 member of press from home and abroad, and this press conference did not have a predefined subject or any content, so please feel free to take your own subject for a question. So please raise your hands, and if you are called, please state your affiliation and your name. And one thing that I would like to remind you is that for a better smooth operation of this conference, please make your questions short and brief as possible. So we see a lot of hands.
기자님, 질문해 주세요.
Hello, I am Choi Go-eun from SBS. Could you speak up, please? So, as one of the members of Press Corps, I am very thankful, and I think it is very meaningful that we have this press conference today. So, your approval ratings are at a very low level, and we have a lot of editorials. And the reason why you see these people who are supporters of you breaking away from you, supporting you, what do you think the reasons are? I can't really put it into 3 bullet points, but not the approval ratings itself, but the sentiment, public sentiment that is shown in this
여러 가지
survey
지적된
is what we
문제들에
should
대해서
focus on,
국민의
and the
관점에서
problems that were pointed out should be what we should be looking at and look at it very thoroughly to have a resolution. And after I took office, it has been about 100 days ever since, and we had a lot of challenges at hand that I had to really focus on, so I did not really have the time to reflect upon the other parts rather than the facing challenges. However, over the last vacation of mine, I had a chance and time to look after the other issues at hand and any issues with the communication process.
다음 질문 받겠습니다.
So I will be resolving these issues. Next question,
뒤에,
please.
카메라 뒤에 문동성 기자님. 예.
Mr. Moon.
예, 안녕하십니까. 국민일보
Hello,
문동성
I am Moon
기자입니다.
Dong-sung from Kookmin
우선 취임
Daily.
100일을 축하드립니다.
I would first like to congratulate on your
다만
first
마냥
100 days.
축하드릴
However,
수는 없는 것이
it's a pity that we can't just celebrate the 100 days
안 보여서. 예.
예, 알겠습니다.
하락하고 부정평가는 계속
because
상승인데요.
the negative
국민들이
approvals are
여론조사에서
increasing,
부정평가에 가장 큰
and
이유인
the reason
사람들을
why the people are so
대통령
negative about
왜
your
인사가
administration is
문제라는
because of the
평가를
personnel
받는다고
management and
그간
designation
미흡한 점이
of
있었다면
your
어떤 개선 방안을
personnel,
생각하시는지 듣고 싶습니다.
and I would like to
조금 전에 우리
listen
최고원
to
기자님
your say on this.
말씀하신 거에 대한
Well, I think this could be
어느 정도
answered to some extent
입장을 말씀을 드린
with the
것이라고 저는
answer that I
생각을 하고
just gave now to Ms. Choi.
다시 다
So from now
되돌아보면서
on,
철저하게
reflecting upon
다시
everything
챙기고 검증하겠습니다.
that is at
그리고
hand,
그 인사
I am going
쇄신이라고 하는
to
것은
take stock upon
국민을
it and
위해서 국민의
look at
민생을
it very
꼼꼼하게
squarely,
받들기
and
위해서
to uphold and
아주
protect the
치밀하게
livelihoods
점검을 해야
of the
되는
people.
것이지
We have to be very
어떤
accurate and
정치적인
meticulous
국면
in terms
전환이라든가
of looking at these
지지율
issues.
반등이라고 하는
So
그런
it's not that the
정치적
focus should be on the
가지고
rebound of the approval
해서는
rate.
저는 안
It should
된다고
not
생각하고
be the
좀
political
시간이 필요할 것
objective
같습니다.
to
제가 지금부터
gain popularity,
시작을 했습니다마는
but it should be more focused
그동안에
on how we can revive the
대통령실부터
livelihood of the people and to make
어디에
people
문제가
happier.
있었는지 지금 짚어보고
So
있습니다.
from the presidential office,
다음
we
질문
are looking at where the problem roots, and we are going to resolve these issues.
연합뉴스 한지훈
I am Han
기자입니다.
Jae-un from Yonhap
취임 100일
News.
축하드립니다.
Congratulations on your 100 days.
아까 말씀에서도 언급을
As you
하셨는데요.
mentioned earlier,
그 광복절 경축사에서
in your
언급하신
liberation
담대한
address,
구상과
the
관련해서
audacious initiative that you
구상을
mentioned,
현실화하기 위해서
to
어쨌든
realize
대화의 물꼬를
this
터야 할 텐데
plan, we have to
우리 측에서
initiate
먼저
a dialogue.
북한 측에 당국자 간
And from
회담 같은 걸
our point of view,
제의할 계획이
do we
있으신지
have any
궁금하고
plans to
과정에서 만약에
propose a
북한이 체제
dialogue
안전
with
보장을
North
요구를
Korea?
한다면
And in
그에
this
대한
process,
대응
if
방안도
North
갖고
Korea
계신지
asks
궁금합니다.
for a security for their regime, do you have any answers to
저는 뭐
this?
선거 과정에서부터
During my
북한과의
election campaign,
대화는 필요하다고
I said
말씀드렸고,
many times
다만
that we need a dialogue with North Korea. However,
남북 정상간의
the
이런 대화나
summit between the two
주요
heads of the two
실무자들의
Koreas
대화와
and
협상이
the working
정치적인
level
쇼가 돼서는
dialogues
안
should not
되고
be
어떤
a mere
실질적인
political show,
한반도 동북아의
but it should be on a very practical
정착에
terms to
유익해야 된다는
secure
그런 말씀을 드렸습니다.
the peace on the Korean Peninsula.
제가 그 광복절에
And
발표한
as I mentioned in
그런
my Liberation Day address,
비핵화
the denuclearization
따라
roadmap
우리가
should be
단계적으로
upheld, and by
지원할 수 있다고 하는 것은
this we can support
먼저
as
다
this
비핵화를
phase
시켜라. 그럼
goes
우리가 그 다음에
on.
한다.
So
이런 뜻이
this
아니고
is what I'm
그런
saying is that
확고한 의지만
you should first
거기에 따라
denuclearize, and then we will
우리가 할 수 있는
pay
일들을 다
off what you have done.
도와주겠다는
That this
얘기이기
is not my
때문에
message. What my message
종전과는
is
다른
that it has
얘기고
to be a phased
이렇게
approach,
의지를
and as
먼저
the
우리가
phase goes
줘야
by, we can
저쪽에
support
답변을
them
기다릴 수 있고
accordingly.
앞으로도
And
의미 있는
with a dialogue
한반도 평화 정착에
based on this
필요한
should
그러한 의미
become
있는
a meaningful dialogue going
회담
forward,
내지 대화가 가능할 것으로
and
생각합니다.
only then
그리고
we can have a
체제 안전
meaningful
보장이라고 하는
meetings.
거는 우리 대한민국 정부가 해줄 수 있는
to
것은 아닙니다. 다만
secure
저나
their
우리
regime, this
정부는
is not something that we can provide.
북한 그 지역에
But
어떤
myself and my administration
무리한 또는 힘에 의한
are
그런
not
현상 변경은 전혀 원하지 않습니다.
wanting
제일 중요한
a
것은 남북
forceful
간의 지속 가능한
change of
평화의
regime.
정착이고
What we
우리가
want
북한에
is
대해서 여러 가지
a sustainable
경제적,
peace on Korean,
외교적
the Korean
지원을 한
Peninsula.
결과
And with the
북한이
diplomatic
그에 따라서
support
자연스럽게
that we can
변화한다면
provide,
그
if
변화를
there is a natural
환영하는
change
것뿐입니다.
or shift of North Korea, that would be very desirable.
조주희 국장님. 예.
Ms. Cho Joo-hee.
ABC 뉴스 조주입니다.
I
죄송한데
am
제가
from
영어로
ABC News.
질문하겠습니다.
I will be
If
presenting my question in English.
denuclearization of North Korea is realistically impossible, despite your audacious economic plans, there are also people who say that perhaps South Korea should also become a nuclear state, and there are also poll results as well. For balance of power and also to have a better chance of achieving peace. Do you agree or disagree, and can you share with us why?
네, 대통령님, ABC 뉴스 조주희 국장입니다. 비핵화 관련해서 질문 드리겠습니다. 발표하신 담대한 구상에도 불구하고 만약에 현실적으로 북한의 비핵화가 불가능하다면 일각에서는 대한민국도 핵을 보유해야 한다든지 또 그에 맞춰서 세력 균형을 달성해야 된다는 그런 의견이 있습니다. 이것이 더 평화에 기여할 것이라는 의견이 있는데 이에 대해서 동의하시는지 또는 동의하지 않으시는지 대통령님 말씀을 듣고 싶습니다.
저는 NPT 체제가
I believe that the NPT
항구적인
regime,
세계 평화에 매우 중요하고
this is very
필수적인
critical and it's essential for
전제라고 생각하고 있습니다.
securing eternal peace internationally, and
어떠한
therefore
상황이 되더라도
whenever or whichever circumstances that we are faced with, I believe that this NPT scheme should be the highest priority and it should be the highest task.
확장 억제에는 또
And I
다양한
believe that
그
deterrence, of
모델들이
such
나올 수
deterrence,
있기
there
때문에
could be many models to
북핵의
it.
그 위협이
And I believe that
고도화되고
if the
기존에
North
있는
Korea's
정도의
nuclear
확장 억제로 되지
threats
않는다고
are elevated
한다면은
and it does not go
확장
beyond
억제가
the conventional
아마
threats,
형태가
I
조금
believe
변화될 수는
that this
있겠습니다만은
deterrence could change
NPT
a bit.
체제에
However,
대해서는
as for the
끝까지 포기하지 않고
NPT scheme,
지켜낼
this will be
생각입니다.
upheld going forward.
다음 질문 받겠습니다.
Next question, please.
노은재 기자님.
노은재.
네, 조금 껄끄러우실 수도 있을
This
질문인
may
것
be a
같은데
little
드려야 할 것 같아서 드립니다.
inconvenient
채널 A
question. I am
노은지
Noeunji from
이준석
Channel
전
A.
대표가 최근에
Regarding
윤석열
the party leader,
대통령도
former party leader
직접
Lee
여러 가지
Jun-seok,
지적들을 하고
he
있는데
has been
이렇게 여당 내에서 집안
targeting
싸움이 계속
criticism
이어진다면 국정
towards
운영에도 상당히 부담이 될
President,
걸로 보입니다.
and I
어떻게
believe
보시는지
that
궁금합니다.
this could also have an impact on your state affairs. What's your take on this?
민생
As
안정과
the president of the
국민의
country,
안전에
I believe that I should be focusing
하다
on
보니
the livelihoods and
다른
the public
정치인들께서
safety. And in this
정치적
process,
그
I
발언을
believe that
하셨는지
other politicians,
제가 제대로
what have
챙길
that
기회도 없고
they
또
have
저는
said,
작년
I
선거운동
was not able
과정에서부터
to fully
지금까지
follow up
다른
on these
정치인들의
updates.
정치적
And ever
발언에
since
대해서
my election
어떠한
campaign,
논평이나
I have not
제
given out my
표시해본
personal
적이
stance
없다는 점을
against any of the remarks that have been made by other politicians. So I ask for your understanding for this as well.
좀 다른 쪽으로
Next question
가보겠습니다.
as well.
박석호 기자님, 예, 질문 주시죠.
Mr. Park Seok-ho.
네, 부산일보 박석호 기자입니다.
I am Park Seok-ho from Busan Daily.
대통령께서는 저기 2030년 부산 엑스포 유치를
Regarding the
새 정부의 국정 과제에
2030 Busan
포함시키는 강한
Expo,
의지를 갖고
you
계신데요.
have
지금
given
상황을
great
보면
commitment for
프랑스 같은 나라가
winning this
경쟁국가인
bid,
사우디를
and we have
지지한다고 선언했고
seen
또
that
사우디는 막강한
France
오일 문의를 바탕으로
supports
개발
Saudi Arabia,
협상국가들의 표를 끌어모으고 있습니다.
and Saudi Arabia is exerting full efforts to win the hearts of many other emerging countries. I believe that the situation is very difficult for us to win the bid, but amid this background, what are you going to do in this aspect?
투표권을 가진 회원국들이 굉장히
The
많습니다.
member countries, there are many member countries
한국과
with the right to vote,
1대1로
and I believe that one-on-one
지지를
persuasion
끌어내는
would
것
be
이외에는 달리
carried
방법이
out.
없고요.
And aside from this, we do not have other means. We are a latecomer in joining this bid, and in order to win the Busan Expo, I believe that
사우디가 훨씬
the
우리보다
cost
유리한 입장에
or the
있는 것은
expenses,
분명합니다.
when it comes to the amount of expenses, Saudi Arabia does have an upper hand than South Korea. However, the expo itself, it involves all of the member countries really promoting their goods in a most effective manner, and it is a platform where they can really show and promote their goods, and we need to have that infrastructure and capability. And I believe compared to Saudi Arabia, South Korea has an upper hand in this aspect. So, in terms of the Expo-related staff members, I believe that we have more than a year to go since until the conclusion, and I believe that we can really overturn the decision and the votes. And we are also preparing right now, and we are also trying to slowly but surely really convince the member states.
무엇보다 저희는
Above all,
과거에 이런 엑스포를
in the past,
이번 2030과 같은 등록
like
엑스포는 아니지만
it's not
올림픽도
the
했고
2030 Expo.
국제
However,
행사를
we have
추구하는
hosted the
탁월하게 많기
Olympics, and we have great experience in doing so. And when I went to the NATO summit, when I had the bilateral summit, I also asked for endorsement, and
전 세계에 보여주는 데 있어서
when it comes to showing and promoting its products to the international community, I heard that no country has the ability and the capability to, like South Korea, to really promote their goods. And I believe that South Korea has the potential. And as this expo brings great economic effects, I believe we need to exert our utmost efforts. Next question on this side. I'm from Japan's Yomiuri Shimbun. First of all, congratulations on the 100th day in office. This is my question. In the liberation speech, you have stated your intention to restore ties with Japan. And in terms of the forced labor issue, it's not really easy to resolve this. And Mr. President, what is your take on resolving this issue? How can we resolve this? And you have not yet had a bilateral summit with Prime Minister Kishida. If you have a chance, what are you going to talk with him?
지금 과거사 중에서도
Right now,
강제
among many historical issues, I believe that the forced labor issue is a question that you have raised. And this issue, especially in South Korea, we have had the ruling by the Supreme Court, and they are now subject to the compensation based on law. And in this process, we need to make sure that they can be compensated. The creditors, they can get the compensations without any conflict with what the Japan is really concerned of, including sovereignty. And I believe that we need to bolster our future-oriented cooperation between the two countries and really expand the scope of understanding, so that we can resolve in a speedy manner these historical issues. And we need to be future-oriented, because being future-oriented can also help us resolve any of the past issues. And I believe that the ROK Japan issues as well, when we look at the Northeast Asia environment and the global environment, and also the supply supply chain network environment, it is high time that the two countries cooperate in a close manner. So the two governments really need to bring out a really practical solution.
박미영 기자님.
Next question.
네, 뉴시스 박미영입니다.
I'm
저는 좀
Bang Myung from
가벼운
Newsis.
질문을
I
하겠습니다.
will throw a lighter
대통령께서는 역대
question.
대통령께서 하지 않으신
So
도어
you,
스태핑을
President,
지금 하고
have
계신데
done
국민하고
doorstepping, which is
소통하겠다는 취지로 알고
unprecedented,
있습니다.
and I
근데
believe that this shows your will to communicate with the people. However, you had some attitude issues, so I would like to know how you felt when people were pointing out to your attitude issues. And you are giving some changes to this doorstepping. Are you
그래서
planning
일단
to do this?
결론부터 말씀드리면
Well, the answer is
계속
yes. I am going to keep on doing doorstepping
하지 말라 그러면 할 수
updates.
없겠지만
If you say not to, then I shouldn't. But
이 자유민주주의라고 하는
I
것은
plan to do this
예를 들어서
because
대통령 중심제 국가다.
liberal democracy
그
and this presidential
대통령직
system
수행
itself.
과정이 국민들에게
The
투명하게
president
드러나고
who is working for the people, what he or she is doing should be transparently shown to the people. And in this process, the criticism or the comments from the people should be heard clearly and loudly. And that is why I came to this Yongsan presidential
별도의 건물에
office.
있었지만
And
저와
unlike
우리
the
참모들이
past
함께
where the
근무하는
president
이곳
was
1층에
staying at a
여러분들의
separate
기자실이
building,
들어올 수 있도록
here we are all staying in one building, and on the first floor we have this press corps room.
분들이
And during my
스태핑 때문에
vacation, there were some concerns that I heard, and I was advised that I should stop immediately the doorstepping because that is actually deteriorating my approval ratings. However, doorstepping was one of the most important reasons why I relocated to Yongsan office, and I wanted to candidly and humbly show myself to the people, and I wanted to make this a new culture of the presidential system, to show myself, my bare self to the people and take criticisms, and any shortcomings from it, I will get the communication and feedback and make improvements. We will cater to one more question.
박정신 기자님 부탁드릴게요.
박정신, please.
머니투데이 박종진입니다.
I'm 박정진 from Money Today.
대통령께서는 그동안 인기가 없는 정책이라도 필요하면 추진하겠다
You said
이런
that
입장을
even if it's
밝혔습니다.
unpopular,
아마도
you will
노동개혁이
carry out
그런 정책이
the
아닐까 합니다.
policies.
임기
I
중에
believe one of
어떤
them would be
방향성과
labor
시간표를
reform.
가지고
So
추진하실지
during
그리고 그
your
과정에서
tenure,
상당한
what do
사회적
you
갈등이
have in
불가피해
mind in
보이는데
terms of
이를
schedule?
어떻게
And there would be a lot of
질문드리겠습니다.
conflicts in the upcoming days. So how would you resolve
독일에서
these issues?
노동개혁하다가
In Germany, the labor reform was carried out,
정권을
and
17년을 놓쳤다고 하죠.
that is why one of the parties were out of the government for about 17 years. However, because of their efforts, they had completed the labor reform, education reform, and pension reform are the three major reforms that a country should carry out, and our country should carry out. And this is the plan that we have. And this is not something that we can just unilaterally take forward. But what we should do is to really take a thorough research and look at empirical research outcomes to get the feedback and to compensate the plans, and it should be a
그러나 이제 제가
something that is bipartisan and that's with the civil society.
제가 가지고 있는
And
기본적인
as
방향이나 생각은
communicate with the people, what I have in mind basically is that the industrial structure has changed, and the labor law at the moment was made based on the
그런 새로운
Industrial
산업 구조
Revolution,
하에서는
and now we're facing the fourth
산업 구조에
Industrial
적용될
Revolution era,
노동법
and
체계도
therefore
바뀌어야
the
한다는
labor
그런 점 하나가 있고요.
law should
그리고
change accordingly. So that is one of the basic
노동의 공급이라는 것도
thoughts that I
결국은
have.
기업과 산업의
And the labor
수요에
itself
따라서
is depending
유연하게
upon
그 대응을
the
해주지
demand of
못한다면은
the corporations and the public. And if it cannot be flexible, the labor industry itself, if it's not flexible, then
그런 그 소위 그 소득이 저는 줄어들
the
것이라고
income itself
생각합니다. 그래서
would decrease.
노동이라는 것도
So labor
현실의 그 수요에 맞춰서 유연하게
should be flexible according to the practical demand, and it should be supplied according to the demand.
우리
And
사회에서
another
늘
point
지적되는
is
것처럼
that one of the points that are always pointed out
같은 기업 내에서
is that
정규직과 뭐 파견
there
근로자라든가
are different
대기업
types
또
of labor
소기업이라든가
types,
사이에서의 그런 어떤
regular
노동시장의 양극화와 분절
workers and irregular workers, and
그
this
어떤 노동에 대한
makes
보상의
a
공정성이라는 측면에서
divide in the labor
우리가
force,
개선해야 될
and
문제임이
this
틀림이
is
없습니다.
it
그리고
is
노동시장을
about the
만약에 우리가 개혁을
equitability
한다고
of the
하면
labor
거기에 따라서
market
또
itself. So
일시적으로
if we make
적응을 하지 못하고
when we make the
불이익을 입는
reform
분들을
in the
위한
labor
여러 가지
market,
적극적
there
노동시장
would be
정책이라든지
people
사회
who are
안전망을
marginalized in
배려하는 것
the interim.
역시도
So
노동개혁에
we
포함되어야
also have to
한다라고
take
보고
into
있습니다.
consideration of these people, and this should be embraced in this labor reform. So we are a little bit over time, but we will still take some more questions.
저 문성필
people in
기자님
the
지금
back.
저 카메라 사이로 가까스로 보이고 있습니다.
Mr.
예.
문성필.
안녕하십니까.
Hello.
한국경제TV
I am
문성필입니다.
문성필 from
최근 대우조선해양
한국에코노믹
그리고
TV.
하이트진로 사태에서 보듯이
Recently we had
일부 노조를
대우조선
중심으로
and
투쟁 강도를 높여가고 있는데요.
하이트 진로. We had some labor issues, and you were always stressing upon the rule of law and principles. So do you have any other thoughts on this? Because this would not do. It seems like it
산업
would not do.
현장에서의 노동운동이
In the field, the
법의 범위를
labor
넘어서서
market or
강경
the labor
투쟁화되는 것은
itself,
어떤 하나의
this
보관으로서
becoming a
단번에 해결할 수 있는 문제가
source
아닙니다.
of demonstration
어떤 일관된
or
원칙을
aggression.
예측 가능하게 꾸준히
should not,
지켜가면서
be
문화가
like
정착돼
this.
가면서 해결될 수 있는
It should
그런
be
일이라고 저는 생각을 합니다.
based on
그래서
law and principles,
정부가
and
이
only
법과
then
원칙이라고 하는 것을
this could become
노사를
a new
불문하고
culture, and this goes
일관되게
beyond labor or the company.
그 원칙이
It's the
중요하고
principle
또
itself
그
should be
시장에도
applied to all
정부의 그런 일관된
participants.
원칙을
And in the market, we
그
will have a
시장에서 받아들일 수
coherent
있도록 계속 그
policy going forward,
입장
and
표명을
the
하는 것이
government
저는 중요하다고
will
보고 있고요.
stick to
우리가
this
지금 가지고
principle,
있는
and we
노동
will
법
talk
체계는
about this principle throughout.
근본적인 노사 갈등과 문제를
And this
해결하기 위한
labor
방안으로
dispute, the
국민들이
resolution to
합의해서
the
만들어 놓은
dispute,
체제입니다. 그렇기 때문에
is what
법이
the
중요하지 않다.
public
법만 갖고는
has
해결되지
come together
않는다라고
as a
하는 것은
consensus. So
조금
saying
그렇게
that
해서는
only
문제
the
해결이
law or
어렵고
principles
우리가
would
이미
not do,
합의된
I
방식을
don't
만들어
think
놨기
this
때문에
would
그
make too much of a sense,
방식을
because
철저히 지키기
this
위해서 노력하는 것이
principle
저는
is
중요하다 이렇게
something that we
생각을
all
하고요.
agreed upon, and therefore
그리고
should be abided by.
법에 위반되는 일이 발생했다고
And any
즉각적인 공권력 투입으로
breaches of
상황을
these laws,
진압하는 것보다도 일단
any
먼저 대화
forceful
타협을 할 수 있는 시간을 좀 주고
interventions
그리고
should not
그래도
be
이게
done
안 된다고 할
immediately,
때는
but rather
그때는
give
더
some
이상
more time to
법에
discuss
따라서
and
일을 할
come
처리할
to a
수밖에
peaceful
없는 그런
conclusion.
문화가
And
저는
if this
정착이
does
돼야
not
된다고 생각합니다.
do, then that will
다음
be
질문
when a
받겠습니다.
forceful intervention
폴라
happens. So next question.
Anashnika, Paula Hancock, CNN. I wanted to ask, Mr. President, about your global pivotal state. You have mentioned going to the NATO summit a number of times this morning. When it comes to Ukraine, are you planning to send more than just non-lethal military aid? Are you planning to send what President Zelensky asked the National Assembly for, more offensive military aid? And also, with a growing foreign media presence here in Seoul, can we have your commitment that we will have more access to your government in keeping with the vision of the global pivotal state? Thank you.
네, 대통령님, CNN의 폴라 행콕스 기자입니다. 대통령님께서 말씀하신 글로벌 중추국가 비전 관련해서 질문 드리겠습니다. 최근 나토 정상회의에도 참석하셨고 또 우크라이나 관련해서는 이제 저희가 비인도적인 지원만 제공을 해오고 있는데 젤렌스키 대통령이 국회 연설에서 요청한 것과 같이 보다 공격용 무기 이런 것들을 지원할 생각이 있으신지 여쭙고 싶고, 두 번째로 또 글로벌 중추국가 구상의 일환으로서 지금 서울의 외신들이 보다 많이 증가하고 있는데 외신의 대통령실과 정부에 대한 접근을 좀 늘려주셨으면 하는 그런 요청을 드립니다.
우크라이나는 국제법 위반 행위에 의해서 침략을 당한 국가로 정의가 되고 있습니다.
International law, it was invaded,
보편적으로
and this
받아들여지는 판단입니다.
그래서 this
우리
is
대한민국도
the
국제사회와
opinion
함께
of the international community, and therefore the Republic of Korea will stand together with the international community to support Ukraine and to help them recover from their Russian invasion. And we are doing our utmost. However, any military aid or offensive military aid, this is not something that I can say for sure here today. What I can say is that I hope that the Ukrainian people will recover and restore their freedom as soon as possible and to recover the public assets. And we will do our utmost for them to do so. And at the Yongsan Presidential Office, I am going to expand more access to foreign media. So we are over 10 minutes than expected, so I will ask for one last question.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello.
이투데이 하유미
I'm
기자입니다.
Hayumi from E-Today.
얼마 전 폭우 피해로
We had heavy
단지와
rain
사망자
and we
발생을
had some casualties who were living in the basements. And
국토부에서도 이제 관련 대책을
there
발표했는데요.
were plans, countermeasures that were announced. However, the public housings would take a long time, and to support the monthly rent, that there are people saying that it is not really practical. So it would not be sufficient enough to prevent this from happening next year. So do you have any effective plans?
저희가 그동안은 이제 이 주거 복지라는 관점에서
Until now, we were looking at housing welfare in the perspective of housing welfare, and we were looking at, with this perspective, of people who were living in these harsh conditions. And with this flooding, recent flooding, we understood that their safety is more important. So with the public housings, we have some vacancies that we can move them into, and we do have some room for a reserve, fiscal reserve, to support them financially. So with any future potential heavy rain or floodings, we are going to make measures to protect these people first. And taking this lesson, we learned that we can make the windshields and doors a little bit more safer. And as I brought up in the last meeting of our emergency team, with the AI technology, we should monitor and link this to the warning system, looking at all of the water levels and the precipitation levels, so that we can make and protect our people in such natural disasters. And then we are going to make the water reserve systems. So we have to have a systematic approach in terms of providing these marginalized people with safer environment to live in, and that is the measures that we are taking. So that was our last question and answer. Due to time constraints, I know that you have a lot of questions. However, I would like to ask for your understanding that we can't cater to all of your questions. So this concludes the first 100 days press conference of President Yoon Suk-yeol. One last thing. The illegality of the labor force, there was a question about this, saying that laws and principles would not suffice. However, what I would like to reiterate is that law and principles are important and we should abide by, and we have to have an accurate analysis in terms of why these disputes happen, and with this the government will try to understand and have a thorough analysis on the root cause of these disputes. And the recent strike and of outsourcing, we will take a look at what is happening and what was the root cause, and we are going to make a resolution together with these people and make a justification. So I hope that this will elaborate a little bit more onto the previous answer. So this concludes the first 100 days press conference of President Yoon Suk-yeol. Thank you very much, the press corps and the people who are watching from TV. Thank you very much.
Okay, we were just watching President Yoon Suk-yeol's first solo press conference since taking office exactly 100 days ago. He fielded some tough questions on a variety of topics. He answered most of them concisely and covered a lot of different issues. We will have a roundup, though, of everything the President had to say during our next newscast. That is beginning in just over 1 hour from now. I'll be back at noon Korea time. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, and goodbye.
내가 넘어서야 할 것들. 망설임, 무례함, 불의, 편견, 타협, 차별, 부정.